Quite well. All right, Shalom. We want to start by giving all honor and praises to Yahweh,
Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem HaKodash.
double honors to the apostles, great millstones, bishops, the elders of great millstone. We want to give salutations to your brothers that watch these videos, pushing the truth, and you, a woman that also watch these videos. Today we're going to be going into a lesson on the Greek Empire. The last one was what, Babylon? Persian and Medes. Yep. So the last one we did was Persian and Medes. Today we're going to do the Greek Empire. Like we were talking with the brothers, it's a very vast empire. A lot happened in this empire, and a lot that goes in with scriptures. So this video is going to be a little bit more compact. We're going to hit certain key points, but brothers can do a lot more research in certain topics as you please. But if a brother wants to start with Genesis 10.
Genesis 10:1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Media, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus.
Yep, and I wanted to start there because we know that where it says Javan, the Hebrew is Javan, which means the Greeks. That's the Hebrew word for the Greeks. And originally they were Japheth. But we know that Esau, got up in there. You can start with Alexander's father, Philip of Macedon. And as we know, and if a brother can hold Maccabees, where it says wickedness,
Yeah.
that's spread. Okay, they are the wicked men. Okay, and if a brother can get Malachi 1 really quick, just to make that point.
Straight to the point, verse 4.
Yeah, you can start at like 2 or 3.
Verse 2. Malachi 1 and 2, it says, I have loved you, saith the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob. Verse 3, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Verse 4.
Yeah, and Esau is the so-called white man.
It says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down.
Wow, that's the spirit, bro, because Elder Sakaran, he just, he brought that out during the Apostles' Camp that, Esau's over there rebuilding the Pantheon over there in Greece. But the Lord's going to throw down.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So like it, bro, go ahead.
It says, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord had indignation forever.
So wherever they land they inhabit, or wherever it is that they live, it's considered the how did it say it in there?
The border of wickedness.
Because that's what they push, and they are the wicked.
Right.
Okay, they were born that way, like it says in Psalms.
Yep.
And so when we, the ancient biblical names, with Esau, the borders and everything has been changed. And we know that ultimately Esau got up in there in Greece. Okay, and then it started the whole Hellenization, which we're going to mention some of that, the things that came out of that. And ultimately it's just, a lot of wickedness. And a lot of Israelites, even before Antiochus, were already converting and getting into that. And we're going to go a little bit into that as well.
Yeah, it's important to know that Hebrew word for Javan, like the brother mentioned, Javan means Greek, because the original inhabitants of Javan, they became the Ionians
Yep.
in ancient Greece. But the reason why I mentioned that it's important to know Javan is Greek for Esau is because of what's written in Joel. That's what happened to us, the Israelites, that we got sold on to the Greeks. If brothers want to make a note of that, you go into that verse, specifically in Joel, that we got sold onto the Greeks. It's Javan, which it's a reference to Esau, not the ancient Japhetic tribes.
So if a brother wants to jump, let's start with Daniel 2 and 32.
Oh, I got it right here. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 2 and verse 32. It says, this image's head was as fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass.
Which that's started to go into the Greek Empire, the thighs of brass.
Yep.
And I'm gonna send some info right now, so if another brother can read that on the chat real quick. Okay, which we're gonna go in a little bit into that. Because it's very spiritual. Like even the scriptures say that the next beast, right, Rome, they used iron. Kind of like how the scripture mentions it. And it was the same with the Greeks. And then if a brother can get brass in the Hebrew for that scripture, well, you can get it, Laumar, since you're already reading it. Then I posted it in the chat if another brother can read that info after this brother gets that word.
Okay.
So the Hebrew word for brass is nahash. All right, nahash, and it means I'm only getting copper and bronze.
Yep. Which mentions bronze.
Yep.
So can you read the info right there, bro?
Fine. Jump down to the most direct connection.
Right underneath the scripture, yeah, read
Okay.
all that.
Okay, come. As a brass, Greek Empire. Strong's definition for brass, copper, bronze. On the Greeks and bronze. The most direct connection is military. The Greeks were proverbially the bronze-clad people.
That's how the Greeks were known as. And then what I'm going to send right now in the chat is an image. These are called the Hoplites, which is basically a soldier, the Greek army. And as you can see, the armor and everything, they wore bronze. That was like their thing.
Yeah.
Where they were known as, like the brother just read, the bronze-clad people. Keep going, bro.
It says in Homer, which Homer was the one who wrote the Iliad, which is where the myth of the Odyssey comes from. It says that in Homer, the standard epithet for the Achaeans is, and it has the Greek there, chalkochitones, bronze tunic or brazen coated. The hoplite went into battle in bronze helmet, breastplate, greaves, and bronze-faced shield with bronze-tipped spears. Herodotus even preserves an oracle that men of bronze would come from the sea, which the Egyptians applied to Greek mercenaries arriving in their bronze armor.
So that's
heavy.
super spiritual. Huh?
Right. Yep.
And like we know, the next beast was stronger, right? And another brother's going to go into that, but just to do that point, where it mentions iron, right? And then what was that one legion, Roman legion?
The Iron Fleet.
The Iron Fleet, something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so, yeah.
That was their title, because that kingdom was heavy in iron. That was the weapons, what they were using. And as we know, they were a step above the Greeks. They were the strongest of those four beasts. So it's just interesting how that kingdom, that's what they were using, and that's what the scripture mentions. And then for this kingdom, they're brass, and like the brother went into brass, that word, it went into bronze. And then that's what these Greeks were known for using.
Yeah, if I may add, the Greeks, their military training required the soldiers to know how to use, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 10 foot, the spear. around 10 feet long, the bull, or 8 or 9, somewhere in there, I forget. But that's how the other armies, because you know how the other armies were at war, they just crash in numbers, right? But the Greeks, they utilized that type of defense to keep their enemies far, with so many lined up and so many spears pointed towards one direction, where they can plow through the ranks and they can stab and basically take more numbers out than actually inflicting damage from the other armies, because their spears were longer. That's how they conquered. It was one of their tactics. Yeah. Oh, you shared that image. Perfect, bro.
Yeah,
Because
brother
it-
should be able to see that image.
Because it is a long. They share. That they're one of their talents in their army is utilizing a very long spear.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Read that next paragraph, bro, and I think you could end it right there.
Okay, it says, so a bronze figure for the Greek Empire would have read very naturally to an ancient audience. This was the people identified with that metal in war. It says a second layer is the metal sequence itself. Gold, silver, bronze, iron is a descent in value, but an ascent in hardness.
Yeah, because bronze is or iron, right, which would be the Rome. It's like less quality, but it's more stronger. And then similar with bronze to silver.
It says each kingdom is less glorious than the one before, yet tougher and more militarily dominant. Bronze sits below silver in worth, but is harder and more serviceable. A fitting image for a conquering Hellenistic power that was less regal than Babylon or Persia, but more far-reaching by force of arms. This tracks with Daniel 2:39, where the third kingdom shall bear rule over all the earth, and Alexander's conquest did spread Greek language and culture across a wider span than any predecessor.
Yep. And then just in case brothers don't have that, but the Greek Empire, the dates were 336 BCE to 30 BCE. And then if a brother can jump to Daniel 7 and 6.
I got it. Daniel 7:6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Yep, another like a leopard, right, which that's going into Alexander. Okay, dominion was given to it, to the Greek Empire. And 4 wings. He had 4 major generals, being Ptolemy, Cassander, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. And basically, once he, Alexander died, they pretty much took control after him. And brothers can see that map on there too. The first map is like the Greek Empire under Alexander, and then how it's split up to the 4 commanders. That should be the second photo. But read that again, bro, and stop at the part of the leopard. Let me just send this image into the chat so brothers can see it.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
Yep, and we know that's Alexander. And as brothers can see in this image right here, his horse, he would put leopard on it. Leopard skin. And they kind of show you that too if you watch the movie Alexander, the 1956. I think even his father would also have it. And send one more photo real quick. This one will show you his horse. So the second image that you brother see, that looks kind of like cropped, or the first image, that's the original photo. And then the second one is zoomed in.
Yeah.
But if you look at the zoomed in one, you can see that his horse on top of it, it has a leopard skin like coat.
Yeah, like around the neck.
Yep, around the neck of the horse. And then I sent you this last photo. It's like a figurine they make of him, and that's how they portray it. Okay, so that makes that connection with the leopard even more. Okay, and then this info here, I'm gonna just read it real quick. Brothers can go more in depth into it. Most scholars don't agree with this. Okay, but it's in Josephus. Okay, which it says this famous account originates from the first century writings of the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus in his work Antiquities of the Jews. According to the narrative, as Alexander the Great marched on Jerusalem around 332 BCE, he was met by a procession of Jewish priests and the high priest dressed in white. Rather than sacking the city as planned, Alexander bowed down to the high priest. When his general Parmenion asked why he did so, Alexander explained he had previously seen the high priest in a vision in Macedonia, who assured him he would conquer the Persian Empire. And that's not far out, because even in the movie, when you watch it, which a lot of accounts back it up, even in the birth of Alexander, there was things going on. Like this one temple caught on fire. I think they saw, I don't know if it was an eagle above the house of where Alexander was born. So his mother and people, they thought this dude's going to be a god or something like that. And I think if you go into accounts of Alexander, he would compare himself to like Zeus. So in the ancient world, you know, a lot of that happened where people would get dreams. That's part of ancient history. So he's saying right here that he's seen in a dream he was going to see the high priest, and then he saw him in real life.
That's weird. I'm making an account. Cyrus, same thing. He said he had many dreams when he was young, and he was raised as a shepherd. And the Lord actually called him the shepherd Israel back into the land. So right in the ancient world, they would look at signs. We're more spiritual. Like, what's going on? The Lord was talking to them through different signs, not even knowing that God of Israel was moving Alexander to do what he did. Because another thing about the leopard is swift when it attacks his prey. He took over the world in
fast
12
years.
That's swift. And a leopard will blend in. You wouldn't even know it was there until it was too late. He went into Egypt, had the headdress and everything on there. He established that priesthood, took a whole half of the Persian Empire without really any threat. And that threatened the Persian Empire. Like, then they took our whole western side of the empire and took Egypt, which was the breadbasket of their empire. So he swiftly did that, and they're, oh shit, this dude was moving fast. He took him down no time.
That's true, bro, like a leopard.
Yep. That was it.
Let me see right here. It says the priest then brought Alexander into the temple and showed him the book of Daniel. Specifically, the priest showed him prophecies such as the vision of the ram and the goat in Daniel 8, which we're going to get next, and the metallic statue in Daniel 2, which declared that a Greek king would overthrow the Persian Empire, believing himself to be the conqueror indicated by the writings. Alexander was overjoyed and granted the Jews significant favors, including permission to live according to their own laws and pay no tribute during the sabbatical years. And then it says modern secular historians, biblical scholars generally view this specific story as a legendary tradition rather than historical fact. We already know how, we already know how that goes.
Why would Israel lie about that? Because, I mean, they already knew.
Yeah, what's the point, right?
Yeah. And another thing about the leopard, you can tell a leopard from its spots, right? It can't hide the fact that it has spots. Just like the Greek army was known for the brass. They couldn't hide that fact about it. That's how people knew, oh, we're going up against the Greeks. They fight a certain way. The phalanx, battle formation, that was strictly Greek.
Yep.
So they knew their battle formations and their fighting style was different than any other style, just like a leopard. It moves different than any other cat, but you can identify it by its spots. You can't hide that fact of a leopard. That's another thing about the Greek army. You could tell who it was.
Bro. And
They dressed by the army.
Yeah, he wore a leopard headdress, which was like bronze.
done. If a brother could read this real quick, these two scriptures, I just put them in the chat. Just to make this link really fast before we move forward. Basically linking Alexander and these Greeks, okay, to Edom.
Additions to Esther 7 and 10. For Haman, a Macedonian,
Which is Haman,
Yeah.
right? In Esther, when you read the book of Esther, the Edomite.
this is the son of, which this is additions to Esther, which is in the Apocrypha.
Yep.
For Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hamadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received us.
Yep.
Basically just breaking down that he was where he comes from.
So it links him to a Macedonian.
Yeah.
So read Esther 3 and 1.
Esther 3 and 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite.
Can the brother get that in the blue letter, Agagite? So like, bro, read it again.
And this is how we know it's the same Haman, because it's the son of Hamadatha. 3 and 1 Esther. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So I have it right here. It says Agagite, descendant of Agag, king of Amalek, spared by Saul, but slain by Samuel.
So descendant of Agag, king of Amalek, which is Esau, Edom, right? And Amalek is Edomite. Okay, which Amalek today is as we all know, the small hats.
Yeah.
Can you read those other two paragraphs, bro?
It says, 1, pre-Alexander migration theory. If the Greek translator was reporting an accurate historical memory of Haman being a Macedonian, it would mean people from the Aegean/Macedonian region were already traveling to and working inside the Persian Empire as early as 480 BC. Greek mercenaries and doctors, long before Alexander, the Persian royal court frequently hired Greek physicians, mercenaries, and advisors.
So that gives you a link right there. Because I was doing a bunch of research and you know the bullshit that, oh, well, we don't have proof of that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's clearly mentioning to you here that the Persian Empire would hire Greek physicians, mercenaries, and advisors prior to Haman. So it wouldn't be a
stretch
to say
the same
Haman,
deal.
Same deal.
Only his role, his purpose was to infiltrate and basically from within transfer the Persian Empire onto Amalek, onto the Macedonians. But it wasn't that. It wasn't the time yet.
Yep.
Yeah. Typical. It says, for example, the Greek doctor Democedes worked directly for Persian King Darius the First.
So then it gives you a fucking example, but we don't know all the time.
He still play silly. He still give you examples, but then play silly when you try to.
But there's examples and shit.
Yeah. It says the intertwined elite. If Haman was a literal Macedonian, which he was, who became a top Persian official, it shows the ancient world was far more globalized and connected than a standard history book might suggest. Yep. The identity puzzle, Agagite versus Macedonian. If Haman was literally both an Agagite, Edomite, Amalekite, and a Macedonian, it points to a physical link between those two groups. Taking both texts literally, this implies a branch of the Edomites or Amalekites had migrated from the Middle East up into the Balkan, Macedonian region, Greece, centuries before the story of Esther took place. If so, people in that region would share that bloodline. During the 2nd century BC, the Jewish Hasmonean kingdom.
Oh, we'll go into that later.
Okay.
Yep, but we could end it right there for that point.
Yeah.
Okay, but it gives you an example there, right? And this was something that was common. It was already happening of Greeks coming over there to work. So there's no stretch of Haman being Macedonian. But the scriptures, we go by the scriptures.
Yeah.
The scriptures is telling us he is a Macedonian.
And he was acting like an Amalekite too when you read the book.
Oh, hell yeah.
Esther, additions to Esther. He was
Edomite.
slithery and
Yeah.
slithery bastard.
Yeah.
Slippery.
For real, bro. Who's that? Rock 12.
says, "Sit him not by thee, seek to take thy seat."
Yeah.
He likens him to a snake.
That's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
But then it got flipped on. The Lord hit him with the Uno reverse. That's it.
Nobody got it.
We could jump to that Daniel 8, whatever brother has it.
8 and what? 21.
We could start at 4.
Oh, 4.
I think I have it.
I got it.
Oh, there you go.
Is that
We'll read from 4 all the way to 25, but for right now, let's focus on where, basically before it starts going to Antiochus, we'll stop there.
This is Daniel 8 and 4. It reads, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, became great.
Which that was still going to the previous kingdom, like we mentioned, right? The Persian and Medes. And when you look at that stretch of power, like we went into, it was like what, 129 provinces, something like that.
127 to
127. Each province, basically a state. So it was a huge fucking kingdom. Go
I
ahead.
mentioned westward first because they
Yep.
tried to go far into Greece, but they were stopped at
Right.
Agagites.
Right.
That's pretty much what took place with Esther. Previously, before that, the expedition with Darius the First and Xerxes, where they were trying to conquer Greece as a whole, tried to push further west. They got stopped at the Agagites. So
Well, that's the spirit, because the next verse that you're going to read is going to say that Ego came out of the woods.
and where were they stationed? Macedon.
Yep, that's it.
Macedonian, Greece. It says, and as I was,
We got to remember, this is prophecy right here, bro. This is before
Right.
this shit happened, and it was fucking detailed.
yeah.
Crazy.
And continuing on, it says, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west in the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, which proves the spirit was with him. The Lord ordained him to come from out of the west, to take over the known world.
That's the spirit you said that, because I want to mention this other point too, but you could finish that verse.
It says, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Verse 6, and he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the
Oh,
picture.
just read 5.
Okay.
Stop.
It says, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west
Alexander?
on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. See, that's 75.
And which is Alexander. And then this brother mentioned how he was ordained, right? The brother could read this account right here, because there was pretty much like 3 main battles that Alexander had. So this goes into the first one of his first main battles, which was the battle at Granicus. The brother could read this info real quick.
Okay. It says Cletus the Black saved Alexander the Great from certain death in 334 BC during the battle of the Granicus, which was Alexander's very first major encounter against the forces of the Persian Empire.
So in the very first major encounter he had against Darius or the Persian army, this dude should have died right there, or could have died right there.
Yeah.
But as we know, prophecy needed to be fulfilled. Go ahead.
It says the near-death encounter. Alexander was famous for fighting fiercely in the front lines with his elite companion cavalry. His bravery made him a prime target for the Persian nobility, resulting in a chaotic melee. The first blow, a Persian noble named Josephus struck Alexander directly on the head with a scimitar. The blow cracked Alexander's helmet, dazing him. Alexander managed to recover and slay Josephus. Yeah, this is
With his lance.
with his lance. It says the blind side. As Alexander was dispatching Josephus, another Persian satrap named Spithridates snuck up behind the dazed king. Rescued. Spithridates raised his weapon for a fatal blow to Alexander's unprotected head.
So this dude was dazed and shit.
Damn.
You know?
Like Street Fighter and shit. He was
Yeah.
He had little birds around his head.
Oh, yeah. The little bird flying. Yeah, it's a finish him right now.
Finish him.
Because that scimitar, that's a sword, bro. Hey,
You seen a photo of that?
No, I don't have
We'll
a
post it on
photo,
the-
but it just says a short sword with a curved blade.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like a side sword hybrid.
that's the spirit, bro. That's like one of them Arabian swords, and you had to get up close to deliver a kill blow.
Yeah, it says
Okay, with the curve and shit.
Yeah, you had to be up close. You know, it kind of like a Roman gladius. You had to be up close to.
it says that it originally in Turkey and the Middle East.
That shit lops heads though.
Yeah.
Damn, so
I
he
just
got
took the
hit.
photo. So
That kill blow, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
It says just before it landed, Cletus the Black charged in and sliced off Mithridates' raised arm, killing the Persian and saving Alexander's life.
So this dude came in right before he was gonna get hurt. Saved this dude.
Interception.
It was the black.
Yeah, most I was with him. But check this out though. Read that last part, bro.
It says the tragic epilogue. This heroic act makes the eventual fate of these two men one of the most famous tragedies of the ancient world. Deep ties. Cletus was an older officer who had served Alexander's father, King Philip II. Cletus' sister, Lanike, had actually been Alexander's wet nurse when he was a baby.
So they took care of this dude and shit.
Yeah.
Saved his life.
Raised his ass. Saved.
In that portrait of Alexander riding his horse with the leopard skin,
Mm-hmm.
he's the only one without a helmet.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I didn't even. Yeah.
Everybody else has headgear, but he's the only one that has no headgear.
I know. That's true.
That's a good thing. That's fucking changed, bro.
Yeah.
Finally. Wow.
I don't know if you brothers ever seen that movie Tombstone?
The Western.
The Western.
Hell yeah.
It was one of those dudes. I don't know if you remember who it was. Who was it?
Wide Earp, right?
I think it was Wyatt Earp. Like nothing will kill that dude.
Wide Earp.
Like he would go to battle. It's guns, right?
Right.
And
Took over.
no bullet will hit this motherfucker, bro. Till it got to his end of whenever he was done with whatever he was doing.
Right.
But I remember watching that movie and they even mentioned that where like it just it wasn't time for him to die.
Yeah. Fucking pale horse. And the
Yep.
line scenes, he
Yeah.
walked out in front of a bunch of crossfire, and he just went and walked right in front of that shit.
Yep.
Nothing
That shit was crazy.
That's crazy, man.
Because if it's not your time to go,
It's a
it's not your time to go.
Yes. All that died from the clap, though.
Alexander, bro.
Hey, read that part, bro.
It says the drunken murder. 6 years later, in 328 BC,
6 years after this dude saved them and everything, right?
the two men got into a heated, drunken argument at a banquet in Maracanda. Cletus, furious that Alexander was taking all the credit for the army's victories, yelled out at Alexander, that Alexander owed his very life to him and his father's veteran soldiers. With regret, blinded by rage and alcohol, Alexander snatched a pike from a guard and run Cletus through, killing him on the spot. Once Alexander sobered up and realized he had murdered the man who saved his life, he fell into a deep depression and reportedly tried to take his own life out of intense grief and guilt. Crazy.
It's an Edomite.
Yeah, take all the credit and shit.
Hey, he was chipping out. Huh?
Chipped out in a bit of rage and drunkenness.
Yeah, but I just wanted to bring that point because that's like known that in his first battle, he was very close to dying.
Yeah.
But prophecy had to unfold. We could go back to that
Daniel 7.
Daniel's 8, I think we were at.
Yep. Verse 6, and it reads, and he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
And he fought against the Medo-Persian Empire, as we know.
Says, verse 7, and I saw him come close unto the ram. He was moved with choler against him,
Which is like 8.
and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. There is no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Yeah, because what's that one scripture? Most side sets the bounds. Okay, pass.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, get that Job 4:14.
Yeah, 14 and 3, I think 5.
14:7.
It's time for this new empire to come in.
Want it right now?
Yeah, real quick.
This is Job 14:5. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
Yeah. So no, empire has went past what was allotted to them.
Yeah. See.
And for Alexander, he was kind of told like you're crazy for going against
Yeah.
the Persian Empire.
Right, 127 province, bro. That's a lot.
Crazy, bro.
That's rise up and devour much flesh, bro. Come on.
Yeah. Verse 8 says, therefore, back in Daniel 8 says, therefore, the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. For it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven.
And then, like the brother mentioned, he died at what, like 32, 33, they say, right? He pretty much died at the height of his power.
Yeah.
Alexander.
It's prime too.
In his prime.
Just coming into the prime of
Yeah, bro. And he was trying to go into India and all that,
He only ruled for 12 years, bro.
Yeah, bro.
That's nothing, bro.
That's nuts, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it says 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven, right, which are his 4 generals, like we mentioned in Daniel 7, Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, Lysimachus.
Man.
So if you could read, actually, we'll stop right there.
Okay.
Okay, and let me just get some info real quick. Because I want to mention a little bit about the Hellenization, because whenever you talk about the Greeks, or the Greek Empire, that's one of the main things, right? And our people were, like I said, even before Antiochus, they were already converting into and being Hellenized willingly. It's kind of like today. Like today, who's the superpower, right? U.S. And everybody wants to be like them, learn English, right? All that.
I mean, the Europeans when they came coming over here, they were all fucking getting wet, wanting to be American and shit. Like, well, I don't want to go back to fucking England where it's all gray and wet and hot, no AC.
Yeah.
Play with the whack ass food.
And what proves the Hellenization of our people even before that, or before Antiochus, is the Septuagint. But we'll read that at the end. If you want to read that, Shaboy.
It says, what it is Hellenism comes from Hellas, Greece. Hellenization is the spread and adoption of the whole Greek cultural package.
Because Greece, we call it Greek today or Greece, but it was Hellas. So that's why it's Hellenism or Hellenization. Basically, Greekism.
It says not just the coined Greek language, but Greek-style cities, the polis, so like metropolis,
Right.
Greek education, dress, names, athletics.
Names.
Jason.
Jason.
Alex.
He changed his name to Jason.
Right.
He Greekified
This shit.
his name, because if I'm not mistaken, it's Yahushua, right? His name? Yeshua? In English?
Chase.
Yeah.
And he changed it to
No, I think Jason might be Josiah. Either Joshua or Josiah. One of the
okay, Khan. I think yeah, Khan. You might be right. But basically he changed his Hebrew name to Jason. It might mention it here, but we'll see. I don't remember.
Snapbacks, right?
Snapbacks. Boy, I seen a picture a while back.
The hats, yeah.
They had the hats and they have the small hat.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Fucking pole pack.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah, you could keep reading, bro. I'm gonna try to see if I can find that
The
shit.
dome cat. It says not just the coined Greek language, but Greek-style cities, polis, Greek education, dress, names, athletics, fucking wrestling butt naked in the gymnasium, theater, because they had like theater, the staged plays, dramas, philosophy, art, and religion. After Alexander, it became the prestige culture of the entire Eastern Mediterranean and Near East.
Yeah.
What made it spread and why it appealed. Alexander's conquest put Greek-speaking rulers from Greece to the Indus. He and his successors, Ptolemaios and Seleucid, desperately funded Greek cities everywhere and made Greek the language and government, commerce, and the elite.
That's where acting started.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the whole concept.
The whole concept of acting
Yep.
comes from a word hypocrites, which means putting a mask on.
Damn.
But it's being a hypocrite. Being a hypocrite is putting a mask on, and that's where it
I
originated.
think that's why like the whole symbol of drama is the two masks, the one smiling,
Yeah,
one frowning.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Because you're putting on a character, maybe
Yeah.
you're a sad character, maybe you're a happy character.
Yeah.
You're acting, you're putting on a mask,
Yeah.
adopting character.
That's why when you read some of the letters of Paul, and he mentions, "Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites." When you go into that Greek word, it was a reference to putting a mask on.
Yeah. Outwardly they appear to be righteous, but inwardly they were
Damn.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like lying. We're not really that put through character. Right. I believe when you go into like the wicked works, I forgot where it's in, it might be in Romans, but it talks about emulations. One of the loose translation is acting.
Yeah. Acting.
Yes. A common language, point Greek, worked for trade, law, and culture across a vast region, just like English today. To do business, hold office, or rise socially, you needed Greek. It was the culture of the rulers and elite. Adopting it meant status, access, and power. The gymnasium and Greek education, paideia, were the gateway to being seen as cultured. To be educated was to be Greek educated.
Like when you go into Acts 17, and Paul went, it said he went to Athens.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And what were they talking about? Brother can get it if you want.
So not learning.
But it was like learn people, or like they would just talk about the world and what the fuck is this and what's that. And he went over there, he was speaking the truth. And then they were kind of like, damn, like what is this guy bringing and shit? What is it? It's like a bunch of people that just get around, start talking and about the world and all that philosophy.
Right.
Awesome.
You
And
know?
they never heard a god die and come back to life.
Right.
So
They all messed them up. But then it intrigued them too, because they met Paul the next, I believe, Sabbath, and they were converted him.
Sweet. Well, I think one brother or something came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you in that same chapter, if I'm not mistaken.
So basically, what this sounds like, it just sounds like being liberated.
Right, yeah.
Being free.
Basically, like how going to college is seen over here. Well, now you're educated. Now you've ascended. You know, like you got a degree.
Right.
You know, you're learning and all this bullshit. It gives you access to different things in the world. All that shit. Right.
Which in the movie, the 1956, it shows you when they're fighting and shit, but they show you like it almost looks like underwear that they used to be naked.
But
That was fucking censorship. That was a PG. You know, and you can, I don't want to post it on here and shit, but you can look up gymnasiums or Greek gymnasiums and you'll see naked motherfuckers butt naked.
Yeah, I believe they would Slovakia. I believe they would shame the Israelites and
Oh yeah, I mentioned that here.
okay, gotcha.
For certain Israelites, that's why in First Maccabees, I think it's in First Maccabees. We'll read that once we get to that point.
Got it.
Some Israelites were putting the foreskin back.
Yeah, I believe it's called
shame.
On their, there's a term for it. You could do that shit today. There's a term for it.
Yeah.
But they were putting the foreskin back because they were naked, wrestling and at the gymnasium. So then they were looking at them, right? And like, oh, this dude's fucking circumcised, but they were trying to be like the heathen.
This dude Jesus.
Where's your being at
Shame for being clean.
being clean.
Clean boy.
Hey, man. By trimmers that ways to see the world.
Exactly. Continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says to be educated was to be Greek educated. It was genuinely sophisticated. Philosophy, math, science, medicine, drama, architecture, and offered a cosmopolitan identity. Until Antiochus, it spread because people found it attractive and advantageous, not by force. So people willingly, like, this is the height of civilization, that's where it's at.
Yep.
It says how the Israelites were drawn in. After 332 BC, Judea fell under Greek rule, Ptolemais, then Seleucid,
okay.
and Greek cities reigned the land. The pull was strongest on the upper classes, the priestly aristocracy and wealthy families, because Greek opened doors to trade, tax farming, and diplomacy. Jews took Greek names. The high priest Jason was originally Jeshua or Yeshua, or what was it, Hawashah? Would that be Hawashah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Hawashah, yeah.
It says his rival Menelaus likewise traded a Hebrew name for a Greek one.
So Jake was changing names and
That's
shit,
crazy.
bro.
Yeah. Because there was benefits to calling yourself Greek.
Yep.
Oh, you want to rock
You,
it?
you get access
Yeah.
to all this stuff we were just reading right now.
Offshore.
Right.
Jim Brewership.
It kind of shows you that too in the you remember when we saw the Book of Clans, the
Oh,
Roman Empire?
yeah,
They
yeah.
were basically asking dudes like your ID and shit. What's your ID?
Right.
Yeah.
Like your information. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, because when you're American, right? When you're, you become a citizen, or what do they call it, right?
Well, Paul, right? He used the citizenship.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
James
Benefits.
trying to
It's
kill him.
benefits.
Perks.
Yeah.
It says the Tobiad family became wealthy Ptolemaic tax farmers and were thoroughly Hellenized. Around
Thoroughly Hellenized. What the fuck does that mean?
they credentials, huh?
Well,
This Greek shit.
Hey, skin in the game. Literally. Yeah. You know what I mean? It says around 175
can
BC.
the brother grab that real quick on First Maccabees,
I got it.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, okay.
where it says we'll first start at the front where it says wickedness spread, and then jump to where it says that Israelites were basically making a pact, converting with Antiochus. No, just real quick.
You want me to get it?
Yeah, whoever has.
Oh, there's First Maccabees chapter 1 and it's a lot. Verse 9. It says, and after this his death, and after his death they all put crowns upon themselves.
Read one verse up.
Gone. It says verse 7. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then he died.
12 years, bro. The scripture tells you exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12 years, bro. Secular history.
No hiding it. It says, and his servants bear rule, every one in his place.
And we know that that's really one of the reasons why they don't want, or they say the Apocrypha is not canon. Because when you read the Apocrypha, you get that link as to why in the New Testament there's so much talk about Greeks and Jews and Gentiles and all that. You know, because it's not saying that all the nations can be saved. It's just our people became Hellenized,
Right.
calling themselves Jews. And we're gonna go into a little bit, like two examples just of there's different Hellenistic words for certain Israelites, either Hellen or Hellenistes,
Yeah.
which mean different things, right? Because you could be a Israelite that you know you're an Israelite, but you just speak Greek, so that's a certain word, or a Greek, as in you really thought you were of, Greek. An Israelite that completely forgot their customs. That would be a certain word. But go ahead, bro.
God, this is verse 8. It says, and his servants bear rule, every one in his place. Verse 9, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons, and after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
So while these people were ruling, these Edomites, wickedness was exceeding, just like today, because Esau is ruling today.
Right. You want me to jump down to 11, right?
Jump down to where it says Israelites were converting. I don't know if that's like 20 something, 30.
Yeah, to make a covenant with the heathen.
Yeah.
Yeah, verse 11. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen
Wow.
that are round
Let us
about
become
us.
Hellenized. Let's learn the customs.
Right.
Let's learn the language. Let's dress like them.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the definitions for Greek as well, too? Right, bro? Heathen? Just heathen? And it's,
Damn, I don't remember.
I could be mistaken. It might be in the exhausted Strong's. I'll see if I find it right now.
Fine.
If I'm not mistaken, man. Greek is heathen personified. Yeah.
Perfect example. Was it on Maccabees?
Oh, let me finish it, my bad. Salaki. It says in those days where went out of their so like in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. All right. Oh,
And can you keep reading down to where it says about the circumcision?
okay. It
It's
says,
Slovakian, but it goes, it's ethnos. I was just thinking about it.
Okay, got it.
oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Fine.
Oh, and also the part the brother just read saying, since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. You know how the language was universal and they needed it for trade,
Yep.
opening up
Money.
doors and stuff like that. And remember what Alexander said when he was still alive, that hey, you can worship your God, you can do as you please.
Right.
You ain't gonna be forced or taxed. But once he died, they started putting heavy taxes and cutting off trade routes for Jake that didn't get with the Hellenization. So it made it harder for them to move forward. So that's what they said. Since we departed from doing what they're doing, we're getting fucked up. We're getting taxed. We're getting deported. We're getting hassled. We're being stopped at trade routes and stuff. They ain't coming in. So
You can't buy land.
Yep, that's it. The whole lot was going on, and that's why Jake was like, well, we got to make a covenant with them, or we gonna fade out or whatever. That's what Jake thought. So they were like, let's trim our ways and be like them, so we can open up doors of trade with them.
Because it says it's the same as being in America with no paperwork, like an immigrant.
Yep.
It's the same fucking thing.
You're
concept.
You're like non-existent.
You're non-existent.
Yeah.
You can't run paperwork.
Yeah.
You don't pay taxes.
Yeah. But it makes it much harder for you to be identified. Like we don't know who you are. Who are you? And you can't really do day-to-day things, like basic things. So that system made it harder for you if you didn't want to become Hellenized and you want to remain, in the ways of Israel.
Oh, no green card.
No green card.
You
Yeah.
go into that trimmest your ways to seek love in the NLT. In the second stanza, it says, even an experienced whore can learn from you. Talking about Israel because they'll just get with the other nations, lay down with them, to get them to get a leg up.
Yeah, the harlot.
Yeah.
Playing hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so pretty, bro.
Damn.
You want me to finish that point or?
Yeah, finish that point over there.
Okay.
Maccabees first.
This is First Maccabees 1 and 13. It says, then certain of the people were so forward herein, and they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built the place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made
Which the brother's going to read as well in that paragraph here. Is going to mention Jason,
right,
building a gymnasium. But go ahead.
I'll say.
This is verse 15. It says,
with the baseball cap.
It says, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves unto the heathen and were sold to do mischief. All right.
You read the part about the circumcision?
Yeah. Just
what did it say?
It says, and made themselves uncircumcised.
Made themselves uncircumcised. What does that mean? You can go into the history of that. It'll tell you on the online. Some of them put their foreskin back.
Yeah.
So that when they would go to the gymnasium, work out, or wrestle motherfuckers naked and shit.
Yeah.
They'd be part of the group.
Damn.
Read this real quick, bro, because we're getting kind of pressed on time too.
It says around 175 BC, under the high priest Jason, a gymnasium was built in Jerusalem itself, where young men, even priests, competed in Greek athletics.
Damn.
But because Greeks exercised nude and circumcision marked a Jew, some men underwent painful surgery to reverse it. The person taking Maccabees describes this with disgust. There was a powerful pro-Greek faction among the Jewish elite well before Antiochus. The rivalry between Jason and Menelaus over the high priesthood is part of what drew Antiochus in. His forced Hellenization in 167 BC was an escalation of a conflict the Hellenizers themselves had started.
So this is 167. We read that it started around what, 330, something like that?
Yeah.
How many years is that, bro? It's like almost 200.
Almost 170 something like that.
So
Yeah,
we-
1,000 today.
Yeah, bro. So our people are already getting fucking Hellenized and shit.
Right.
Voluntary.
Yeah.
So then the Septuagint have to be written. Why? Because certain Israelites knew only Greek. Read that, bro.
Septuagint. LXX, which is what, 7070, yeah.
Yeah.
It says, is the Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures made for Greek-speaking Jews above all the large diaspora community in Alexandria, Egypt, who within a generation or two spoke and read primarily Greek and needed the scriptures in their own language. Translation of the Torah began in the 3rd century.
Today, bro. Today, you could have parents that speak Spanish, and just one fucking generation or whatever that's called, just their sons, bro.
Yep.
They could raise without teaching Spanish, just English.
Yeah.
And now the sons don't know fucking Spanish at all.
Yeah, and then their kids are going to be
And then their kids, they don't know shit.
no exposure whatsoever.
Nah, bro. We see that today with, in Spanish, we call them no sabo, right?
Yeah.
Kids,
Right.
which is like,
Kids that barely speak
Hispanics.
Spanish at all.
yeah, that were born to a Hispanic family, but they didn't get taught
Yeah.
Spanish, so they just know English.
Right.
That shit looks like
Yeah.
whack.
Our Spanish is whack. Theirs is beyond whack.
So then imagine what the holy tongue, man,
Yeah.
the true language, Hebrew.
Generation of two. Gone.
I got a precept.
Go ahead.
Acts 6:1, and in those days, when the
Oh, hold that because I have that.
Oh, you have that?
Yeah, I
I
have
got
that.
a quick one, bro.
Go ahead.
2 Maccabees 6:1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after.
Backwards document.
So like 2 Maccabees 6:1, it says, not long after the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their father and not to live after the laws of their God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus,
Dang.
and that in Jerusalem of Jupiter, defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwell in the place. It says,
Which I believe this chapter will go into like Jason, right? When you keep reading.
yeah.
I think that's the chapter that.
You want me to jump down to the point?
Yeah, jump down to whatever point you're trying
It
to read.
says, verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
Yep.
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
And is this the one around verse 6 or something like that, where it mentions they can't call themselves?
Yeah, they can't. You want me to
Yeah, read that.
Verse 6, it says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Nope. So they can't call themselves Jews, they were calling themselves Greeks. So then at the time of the Lord, because this is when it's getting forced, right? But as we're reading, even before that, Israelites were already converted. So by the time of the Lord, you're having Israelites calling themselves fucking Greeks.
Yeah.
So that's the Gentiles that is speaking of there. It's not saying that other nations can make it. It's saying these Israelites that lost their way, can come back.
That's the spirit. You said lost their way. That's why the Lord said, if a man has 99 sheep, that's good, but one is lost, he's going to go find that one that's lost. That's the Gentiles.
Yep.
That's Jake that lost their way.
Yep.
About 100, some 200 years before the Lord came on the scene. They were completely Hellenized, Greek, and then Rome took over.
Right.
Took his place.
That's right.
Yeah, so,
Read that, bro. Shabbat.
It says, the translation of the Torah began in the 3rd century BC under Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, with the rest of the books following over the next century or two. The name means 70 from the legend in the letter of Aristeas that 72 scholars translated it in 72 days with identical results. A story meant to lend it divine authority. The Septuagint is itself a product of Hellenization, scripture moving into Greek,
it later became the Bible of the early Greek-speaking church, is the source of most New Testament quotations of the Old Testament, and is why the Apocrypha sit in the Catholic and Orthodox canons. Summary: Hellenization was a roughly 150-year, largely voluntary, elite-driven drift toward the prestige culture of the day. Antiochus did not start it. He tried to force what was already well underway, which broke open into revolt.
Yeah, if I may add too, this is the time where the Apocrypha got translated. If I may read from Sirach, the prologue, it says, I just lost this one. It says, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. For in the 8th and 13th year coming into Egypt, when Agagites, which is Ptolemy III, was king and continued there some time, I found a book of no small learning. Therefore, I thought it most necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it. So this is when the Apocrypha got translated. Wow. See? But
And this right here, it goes with what you were reading, Azan.
This is the book of Acts 6.
So let the brother read it first.
Okay.
Shabbat.
The word Greek in the New Testament.
So then with Hellenization and all that, right? And then I just wanted to bring this up just so brothers know the differences. So it'll be two examples. Can a brother get the scripture where Timothy, it mentions he was a Greek?
Yeah.
His father?
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
It says Hellenistes were Jews who spoke Greek but kept the Israelite customs.
So that goes with Acts 6:1. Can you read that, bro?
Yeah. Acts 6:1, and in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration.
So for right here where it says Grecians, that word translates to, or goes back to Hellenistes, the Greek, which this style of Greek, right, it means one who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use the Greek tongue, used in the New Testament of Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. So this would be a word for Israelites that know that they're Israelites, but they speak Greek.
right. So what's the
So
difference between Jew or Greek?
right,
One speaks Hebrew, one speaks Greek.
but they're both Israelites.
They're both Israelites.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then if a brother has that Timothy one,
Yeah, I got you.
go ahead.
There's Acts chapter
Or let the brother read the other word real
Gotcha.
quick. Shabbat.
On Hellenes, Helen, were Israelites in a Gentile state of mind, keeping the Greek customs. Timothy's father was a Hellen.
Go ahead, read that.
is Acts 16:1. It says, Then came he to Derbe and Lystria, and behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed, but his father was a Greek.
So when you go to that word, what is it for Greek?
It's Helen,
Helen.
Helen, like the brothers read. It's Helen.
Is there anything good in there?
It says, let's see. It says a Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands. No, it says,
It's saying either by nationality or something else.
yeah,
Right? What's the something else? You know, certain a lot of people, not just Israel, a lot of people
Right.
converted to being, because they were the superpower in that day.
yeah.
So there's access to things. Is there more on that?
Let's see. It says in a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not just Jews, like you're saying. It says that made the language, customs, and learning of the Greeks their own.
They became Greek.
Yep.
So when you see Helen, that's like it mentions here, it's an Israelite in a Gentile state of mind, keeping the Greek customs and thinking that they're Greeks,
Yeah.
right? But we know that their lineage will go back to an Israelite. And then there's an example of the feminine form of Helen, which is Mark 7:26. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation. She besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. So for that word in Greek, it's Hellenes, which is the feminine form of Helen. A woman who thought she was Greek and kept the customs, but was a Muslim.
That's how she knew who the Lord was.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like you said, they had already with the Septuagint started converting the books of the Old Testament into the Greek. But she knew, like, hold on, this is son of David, the one that was destined to come. See? So that's how she knew who the Lord was from the writings. That's it.
And right here, I'm going to just post this. This is pretty much the last point I want to mention because we kind of mentioned it right now. The brother was reading Maccabees. But this points us to the Hasmonean dynasty. And actually, bro, if we can finish that, Daniel 8.
What is the Greek Strong's for the word Greek in John 19:19, where it says, this is the king of the Jews? It was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin.
That's the spirit. I had it right here.
Very good. Those are the
Yeah.
major
Read it,
languages.
Yeah, Luke 23:38. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek, in Latin, and Hebrew. This is the king of the Jews.
What is the Greek word for Greek right there?
It's Hellenikos, I think. Let me get it. Sorry.
Because there has to be Israelites there that didn't even know nothing in Hebrew.
Yeah, Hellenikos.
Hellenikos?
Yeah, it says a Grecian, but with a capital G.
Okay, Konica. Go on.
That's it.
Yeah, so our people, hey man, they knew Greek, they knew Latin, and they spoke Hebrew.
Just like in the world today, the main languages are English, which most people have to know, Spanish, and then where the fuck other language you come with. But most people, the main predominant languages they need to know to fly, to travel, is English.
But
Just like back then, it was Greek to trade and have the trade routes open. Then when the Romans came in, it became Latin to be the main language you have to speak among the elites to move and trade throughout the lands.
But that writing was for the Hebrews to know that.
Yeah, it says the Greek right there that you mentioned was going to the Greek language, but the root of that goes back to Hellenistes, which is the Israelites speaking Greek.
Yeah, that's why the sermon of Peter was powerful. It said Jews from every nation came back to the land to keep the customs, but they spoke Greek, they understood it, they could read it, because it was the language you needed to trade with. Then it turned to Latin. The Romans put that over the world, the Roman world.
Yeah.
So you need to learn Latin, and then our people that was just in the land and knew the customs, they knew just Hebrew. So it was on those three languages so our people could know who that man was that was up there as a sacrifice.
Did you have more Yeshar on that or no? Did you have more on that?
No, the brother said what I was going to say.
Oh, okay, Con.
Let's finish that Daniel 8, bro.
Daniel 8.
And then we can make this last point.
Verse 9 says the little horn. It says, and out of one of them came forth a little horn.
Antiochus Epiphanes. The fourth.
With waxed exceeding great toward the south. The king between the king of the north and the king of the south. Go on to that. It says, and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. Going into the revolt, all right, of the Maccabees, they call it the Maccabean revolt. We went towards the pleasant land, which is Israel, had war with our people, and had to take lands east. Just like Alexander tried to take India and all that, but that's where empires go to die. This is verse 10. And it waxed.
If you see the map, the second map about like the landers where they split up their land, we're like in the middle of all the fucking
fighting and shit.
Yeah, bro.
And you don't think that they didn't know about those trade routes that ran through our land, like the King's Highway, land of Edom. They knew about those trade routes leading east. They like, we need this trade route right here in the Mediterranean to lead us east. So they had to run into us eventually. It says, and out of them came forth the little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east, toward the pleasant land.
Because this guy was greater than all Alexander's generals. You know, and he afflicted us the most. Had us in coliseums, you know, to display, kill us.
Verse 10. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
Which is the Israelites. That's primarily in that time was the southern kingdom, but we know there was remnants of northern that stayed back too.
That's right, yeah. Verse 11. Yeah, he magnified himself, even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Verse 12. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it
Which at that time was what? The law?
yeah, and it practiced and prospered.
Yep, and he ransacked the temple. Right, we know all that info.
Filed the courts in the temple, and
Yep. Sacrificed swine.
yeah. Verse 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? Because it was a long span of time where the daily sacrifice that the Levites were keeping in the temple just stopped for a moment until they rededicated the temple, threw away the defiled stones and replaced new stones in the temple, and then they built a new altar. But that was a long time. It was a span for a minute.
But we read too, what did they do? The Jupiter?
Oh yeah, they turned the temple into Jupiter Olympus. The defender of strangers or something like that. Dang. It reads on verse 14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed.
Which is about 7 years. And in secular history, Antiochus took us down. They give you like 6 years and something. So it's like almost that 7.
Spirit, bro. Spirit. Yep. And it said cleanse. That's the point.
Yep.
But where do you find the cleansing at? If it jumps from Malachi to Matthew, where's the gap?
Right.
Greek Empire, Maccabee period. The rededication, the Lord kept it in the book of John. Where do you get that? That's the point. Cleansed. When shall it be cleansed? You didn't hear about that in Malachi. I didn't believe you mentioned that part. So where do you get that connection? The Apocrypha. It reads on the interpretation of the vision. It says, and it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision, saw for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as a appearance of a man, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Eli, which called, is going into Gabriel, speaking with him, giving him the hand. Yep. It says, and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood. When he came, I was afraid, fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. He touched me and set me upright. He said, hold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed, the end shall be. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Just read it fast.
Is verse 20. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. The goat and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, which is Alexander. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart, and thy peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken, thou hand. The vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days.
Done. And then it kind of goes in depth too, and we're not going to get it, but Daniel's 11, which is pretty much the wars of
Seleucids
and the Ptolemies.
Yeah.
And it mentions more info in there. It mentions because that point, basically Rome is starting to appear here, or in this like time frame. Because that's when it mentions in Daniel's 11 when that general stopped Antiochus, right? And he did that circle in the sand.
What was his name? It was like Lineage?
It's like a long ass name.
Yeah.
But that showed you that the power of Rome. And I believe Antiochus, when he was little, I think he got sent to Rome.
Yeah, he was
So
a
he's seen
hostage at Rome.
He was a hostage, yep. So he's seen it firsthand, that power.
Yeah.
So when that dude did that circle in the sand and told him basically to kick rocks, he got pissed off. And some of that anger got taken out on our people.
And I'm wondering if that was around the same time that Rome was fighting the Punic Wars at that time versus Carthage. Because you said they were expanding at the same time. Greek was kind of losing its sway. The Roman Empire was gaining power.
What's coming up?
I'm wondering if it was around the same time because the Second Punic War, Carthage won the first two, but Rome won the third one because in the Second Punic War they had a naval battle. The Rome didn't have a navy at the time, but the Carthage did, and they happened to find one of the ships that crashed. They took the schematics of the ship and built a navy for the next war, and they won. And they took all Carthage and all that Mediterranean area. They expanded the empire or the republic at that time. That was it. You want to read 27 and end it up?
Yeah, you could end there.
It says, and I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days afterward. I rose up and did the king's business. I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. So history played out.
Yep. So then with Antiochus, that's kind of nearing the end of that empire. And then I want to just mention the point of the Hasmonean dynasty, and because we know that around that point, that's when we're going to read it, Edomites were forcefully converted to Judaism by John Hyrcanus.
Yes.
And then you have Herod and in the time of the Lord, Herod the Great, which that's an Edomite.
Yeah.
Acting like an Israelite. So that's just important to know. So we'll just do that and then we'll end it up.
See?
So why you want to read that?
Come bro. Hasmonean dynasty key points. Origin 167 BC. The Hasmoneans were the priestly family that led the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Greeks. It began when Malachi, a priest, refused to sacrifice to the Greek gods at the Modine and struck down both the compromising Jew and the king's officer. Hasmonean comes from a family ancestor, Hashmon, per Josephus. Maccabee was the nickname of his son Judas, the Hammer. First Maccabees 2:1. Mattathias, the son of John, a priest of the sons of Jorib. Mattathias, the priest, and
it's just abbreviating that verse. It's not the entire verse, but just let us know.
John, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. First Maccabees 2:19 through 22. Abridged, Mattathias vows that he and his sons will not forsake the law. If all nations obey the king. The line of leaders: Judas, Maccabeus, military victories, recaptured and rededicated the temple. 164 BC, that's where Hanukkah, the origin. Jonathan and Simon, won growing autonomy through war and by playing rival Seleucid claimants against each other. And then John Hyrcanus, 135 104 BC, conquered and converted the Idumeans. See below Aristobulus, 104 BC, first to take the title king. Alexander Jannaeus, Salome Alexandra, and then there was a civil war between Hyrcanus II and Aristobulus II. And it ended when Pompey took Jerusalem in 63 BC. And finally, when Herod the Great and Idumean supplanted the dynasty. So that was basically his lineage, right? Going back. Relation within the Greek Empire. The dynasty was born in revolt against forced Hellenization by Antiochus IV. Independence came under Simon around 142 BC when the Seleucid yoke was lifted. And then it goes into it in 1 Maccabees 13 and 41 to 42. A bridge, the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel. The irony here is, though they fought the Greeks, the later Hasmoneans became heavily Hellenized themselves. Greek royal names like Aristobulus and Alexander. The Greek court customs and combining kingship with the high priesthood. They were melding the two together. The conversion of the Idumean Edomites. Idumea is the Greek name for Edom. The Idumeans are the Edomites, the descendants of Esau. After the exile, they had settled into southern Judah, the Hebron, Negev region. First.
Yeah, because Herod the Great was father, right? Antipator.
Mm-hmm.
It was Antipator the Idumean. That was his name.
Yeah.
Which is the Edomite. Go ahead, bro.
John Hyrcanus the first, 125 BC, conquered Idumea and compelled the Edomites to be circumcised and live under the law of Moses, or Lehi, was converted and were absorbed into the Judean people from Josephus' Antiquities. This is why Herod the Great was an Idumean, Edomite by blood, says Jewish by this forced conversion, and was resented by many Judeans as a foreigner. He is the Herod of Matthew, the 2nd chapter. A further irony for the lesson: the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, who arose resisting Greek forced conversion, then imposed forced conversion on Edom.
No question. Some of them
That's right.
Crazy. That's the Lord just had it set up that way, you know.
Yeah.
Quick question. So did some of them have natural lineage, Israelites obviously by their mother?
Well, I'm sure once that forced conversion of the Idumeans happened under Javan, they were probably going back and forth. I mean, that was how
They declared.
that was how Herod the Great came out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because there's that one scripture, I don't know if brothers know where it's at off the top, but where it mentions Herod's daughter and it says she's a Jewess, but that she's not an Israelite.
Yeah.
That was one of those that comes from that Herod line that was calling themselves an Israelite.
Yeah, no different than the woman at the well.
Yep.
But that was the people that was put in the northern lands of Israel.
Yep.
And they thought they were Israelites
Way
because they were
back.
keeping the covenant way back.
Yep.
It is the same thing that happened during the Hasmonean dynasty leading up to a Roman conquest.
That's why it's powerful too, like the brother mentioned, the tares.
Yeah.
Like Yahushua, when he gave that parable,
Yeah, he used to
He
call
already
him
had
fox.
tares like that.
Yeah, he said he called him fox.
yeah, he called Herod fox because he knew that dude's not no Israelite.
Right.
It said Herod, just looked up Herod the Great Father. It says Herod the Great's father was Antipator the Idumean, a powerful political figure and founder of the Herodian dynasty. Antipator served as a key advisor and military commander for the Hasmonean kings. He skillfully aligned with the Romans, which eventually led to Julius Caesar appointing him the first Roman procurator of Judea in 47 BCE. So they were basically giving control of that region, where our land. So that's why Herod is mentioned a lot in scriptures, because he was procurator
And
in that area.
you just mentioned that he was given that seat of authority by Julius Caesar in 47.
Yep,
3 years
47.
later, motherfucker was assassinated by the Senate in 44 BC. But who actually took it down? It said it was Pompey, which was the next guy that was right there with him. The triumvirate was
The
him,
triumvirate, yeah.
Crassus, and Julius. But Julius got assassinated, and Pompey had to take the helm of conquest, and then he got took out, and then that was it. Crassus got took out too.
Yep. And that pretty much brings up, Edom, right, acting like they're Israelites, and that whole line right there. So that's proof enough, right? Like vocab says that the Edomites were done away with, the Maccabees or whatever, when it says they got burned. So whatever scripture it is he mentions. Then what about Herod? These are Idumeans. These are Edomites right here. You know? But that's pretty much everything I have. I don't know if those have anything to close out or any other scriptures. I'll end it right there. You know, all praises and honor again to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, HaKadosh.
for winning you both edified. Till next time, shalom.
Shalom.